All right, welcome everyone to Optimal Training Group. Isaac Seguno here. So in this video, we're going to be talking about a very interesting and important concept, which is called child flows. So think of child flows as a way to organize and simplify complex workflows. So if you are a developer, let's say you came from a developer background, JavaScript or whatever programming background, think of child flows like a function that you call. Think of it like a function. A cloud flow is a set of instructions or actions that automates a specific task. Well, just like functions in JavaScript, cloud flows are reusable and can be triggered by various events and can be integrated into larger processes. So you're looking at this here. So from within this flow that I have, I would consider this like a parent workflow. I can call a child workflow from here to do a specific task. So in a programming language like JavaScript, you might have a function that takes input, processes them, and returns the result. So same thing with Power Automate. It can be triggered by inputs like an email arrival, form submission, or a schedule time. The flow then processes these inputs, performs a series of actions like sending notifications, updating databases, or calling other services, and then concludes often with an output. So we're not going to be getting that complex, at least not yet, maybe in other videos, but we're going to do something very similar. So what we're going to do is, as you can see here, we have these three levels of approval: team lead status, manager status, and senior manager status. We're basically checking if the status has changed, meaning each of those roles went in and they made some type of change, reject or approve. So for example, this here, it checks to see if it was approved, and if the team lead had approved, this email gets sent out. If not, this rejection email gets sent out. And this happens on the manager role level and the senior manager role level. So what I want to do is I want to just have one function, call that one function that creates these emails for me. So as you can see, it wouldn't be too taxing on this parent workflow. So as you can see, it's performing like an actual like programming function. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. And don't worry, if you're not from a background of a developer, you will understand as I go through this example. So just think of it as I am calling a different workflow to do something for me, and then it returns back to this main workflow. So let's go back. So first and foremost, you can only create a child flow within a solution. That's the only time you can create it, and that's the only time it can work. It has to be within a solution for you to even call a child flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to new, automation, workflow, and then click instant. So let's call this child. So this is a way to identify, when you have a bunch of workflows, this is a way to identify your workflow. And I want to say travel, so that way I'm associating it with the workflow that I'm using. So I'm going to say child travel send email. Okay, and I'm going to click on manually trigger. Now as you can see, I have this in parentheses in these brackets, child. You can also do the same thing with the parent workflow that you're going to be calling from, and call it parent, and then whatever the name of the workflow is. So we're going to come here, and then what we want to do now is it's going to take certain parameters, and what we're going to be passing in here from our parent workflow, we're going to create a text, and let's call this, let's say status. We're going to pass in status. So, and the status is either going to be approve or reject. And then we're also going to pass in role type, and the role type is either going to be team lead, manager, or senior manager. Okay. So that's all I need for now. If we need anything else, we can come back here. So you must always create your child for your child flow first, obviously, before you can use it within your parent. So we're gonna come here and say click next. New step, and I'm gonna click on control. I'm gonna do a condition, and I'm gonna say the condition that I want is now when you scroll down, you can see your trigger flow, all these different names, parameters. So I'm looking for, let's say, status. So I'm going to say, okay, if status is equal to approved, then we're going to call this email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, I opened it up here. I'm going to come here. This is the email that I want for approved, right? Because my approval email is the same for all the different roles. So for the manager, senior manager, the only thing that's different is right here. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say copy to clipboard. Okay. And let me move this back out of the way. All right. So now I've copied to clipboard and I'm going to click on action. I'm going to come here and there it is. All right. So status is equal, if status is equal to approved, we're going to come here. Now remember, we are passing this in. So we're going to come here and we're going to replace this manager. And we're going to say role type. Oops, let me do this. Okay, so I'm going to come here and we say role type. All right. Role type. And then I can also, now that I realize, I think I may also need to pass in the ID. So this item, when we modify this item, it also has the item ID. So we need to pass that item ID because I want to get the specific item that we're talking about. So that way I can grab the different fields and populate it here because I'm not passing that in. So I'm going to come up here again and I'm going to say item ID. So we're going to come, so once we do that, I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, let's go to SharePoint. Okay, SharePoint. And let's do a get item. We only want get item. We don't want get items. So we want get item. So let's say get item. There we go, right here. Get item. And then since we are in our solution, we want to come over here and we want to enter the variable. So the variable is our travel request list right there. And then I'm sorry, no. We want the site address, excuse me. The site address is travel request site right there. And then let's come here, grab our variable again. Travel request list. Now, if you don't understand what variables are, please go back to my other videos and watch. A variable is what we use in our environment so that when we migrate it to our production environment, we're just replacing the variables with the production values. So now I'm going to come here and I want to say item ID. So that's what this item ID is for. So, all right. So now that I've done that, I can come here and I can replace this. So as you can see, so let's do trip title. Let's do trip destination. So all we're gonna do is just replace all of this. Okay, so now I've put in the right values for each of these. This still stays the same, still correct. So now this says awaiting manager approval. So the value that I'm going to be passing in, this will say this role type will be manager. So that's what I get for, that'll be for the approval. So now we just need to do the same thing for reject. So what I'm going to do is, let me show you. I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to grab the reject email. So now let me do this, copy. So now what's going to happen is it's going to be called once, right? You know, depending on what role. So now I don't have multiple of these, several of these. So I'm gonna come here, clipboard, this one. Okay, there you go. So we're gonna replace this. It looks like we may have to pass in the comment as well. All right, so this is why you have to do your child flow first, because as you're building it, you're gonna be like, okay, you know what, I need to pass this in, I need to pass that in. So let's come up here. Let's do this. And let's do text, and we're gonna say, let's call this rejection comment. Okay, so we do that, and then we're gonna come down here and we're gonna say, scroll all the way down, rejection comment. Okay, and then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, okay, let's change some things. Let me come back here. I'm gonna make this work. Okay, let's call this one, I'm gonna say current role, no, current approver. And then let's call this one next approver. And you'll see why I did that in a second. I'm gonna come back down here, do this, and let's scroll down, and we're gonna look for next approver, because let's say if I was a team lead and I had approved, the next approver would be the manager. So you would want the next approver. And then here, and so team lead reasons, scroll up, and I'm gonna say current approver. So let's do this, current approver, bam. So current approver reasons, let me do that, and then it had a rejection comment. Okay. Okay, so it looks like we have that. So let me save this workflow. Save, and then there are two other things I need to do. So let's save first, make sure everything's okay. Okay, so I get this error, and as you can see, this is why you build your child flow first. So it's saying manager email reference by inputs in I just send email. Okay, it looks like, okay, that's why. So right here I'm sending an email to the manager. So let me do this, and next approver email. All right. I guess I gotta use this, but I'll just use the text. Let's see if it'll work. Come here, do that. Okay, and then this would be to the actual user. This would be back to the user, saying that it's rejected. So let's say um, let's call this requester email. Requestor email. Okay. And then we're going to come here, requester email. All right. So let's save it and see what happens. It looks like it's saved. Okay, saving. Okay, that's saved. Flow checker. Okay, now let's go back to our. Let me take a picture of this first, so that way I can remember my. So I want to remember my parameters passing in. Okay, so now let's go back. Go back out of our flow, and let's go into our parent flow. And I'm going to edit. And matter of fact, let me do this. I'm just going to change the name. Let's say parent. So this is my parent flow. Okay. So now let's come here and let me show you how it called it. So we're going to come here, do this, right? And let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Okay. So we're going to come here and let's call our child flow. So we're going to type in here child. So this kind of, if you're a developer, this you're making a call. Click on flows, run a child flow. And if you come in here, we should see our child flow. There it is, child flow. Give it a second. Okay, so now it's asking for all of those different things. So status, the status is this, approved. So I'm just going to type in approved. Approved. The current approver is team lead. So I'm just going to type in team lead. Item ID. So our item ID, let's scroll down. When an item is or file is modified, ID. Come here. Rejection. So our rejection comment. So right now we are the team lead. So I'm just gonna say none. Now I could have had two different workflows, one for rejection and one for just approved. I want to just put none in there right now because if you don't put a value in there, it's gonna give you an error. So the next approver, so since it's the team lead, the next approver is manager. And then what's the next approver email? The next approver's email, let's go grab that. I think it is this manager. So we need to grab this manager email. So we're going to come down here, manager email, next approver email, manager email right here. So the output. And then here, requester email, we don't need that right now. So let's say none. So now let's go to the reject. Reject. Let's delete this. And let's add. So flow. And here's flow. Do this. Child flow. Okay. That comes up. So the status is rejected. Okay. Current approver, team lead, item ID. Let's grab that. ID. Rejection comment. And this is the rejection comment of the team lead because we're in the team lead role right now. So team lead reject because the team lead is the one that rejected it. So let's come scroll down. team lead, right here, approve a comment. So then the next approver, there's none. Next approver email, say none. And then requester email is what we want. So we're gonna scroll down and look for created by email. Now, like I said, we could have had two different child flows. One for just approve, and then one for reject. So if you're not, maybe these none seems useless, where I'm putting none, you can just create different child flows where it gives you specifically what is needed for that flow. So let's save this. We are getting an error. Let's see what it says. Run child flow. Okay, so I see what the problem is. So here's what we need to do. I'm going to open this up in a different window. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring this over. Okay. So let me get out of here. And we're going to come, let's go to our child flow. We're going to click on child flow. It says update the child flow for action, run child to end with the response action. Okay. So what we need to do is first and foremost, let's edit our child flow. And what we didn't do is send a response. So we're going to click here. And then we're going to say power apps. And always remember to do this, power apps. Or I think is it one word? There you go, power apps. So respond to power app or flow. Add an action. And I'm just going to say status is done. And what's going to happen is this is going to get passed back to that workflow. So let's save. Make sure that's saved. And let's come back here. So as you can see, that's gone. So now that we're dealing with this one, it says run a child flow, update the child flow for action run to not use run only user connection. So I showed you the first thing to do. Now the second thing we need to do is I'm going to come out here. Let's click on the child flow, and right over here, you see this run only users. Let's edit that, and we don't want this. We want it to run using the connection. So use that. Save. So that's an actual connection we're going to be using. Okay. So now let's see this save, see if this error is gone. Okay, see the error is gone. Okay. So now saving. Good. Now let's see if this works. Let's go fill out our application. We're only going to test the team lead status. Okay, let's come back out. And let's go and open this flow up. Our power apps. Let's refresh. Okay. Las Vegas. Child flow training. Let's get some dates in here. There's Bellagio. I hope I spelled that right. 4,500. Let's be reasonable. 350 maybe, something like that. Probably more. Submit. Okay, so now submit. Let's wait for the email to come in. Let's wait for that email to come in. Okay, about time the email came in. So let me click it. All right, so now let's go and say Click here to review. So the team lead gets the email. So now the team lead is about to leave a comment, and then once the team lead clicks approve, it'll go to the manager. So that's when the child flow should kick off. So approve. All right. And let's wait for the email and see what happens. All right, so the email came in. And as you can see, manager, this is our child flow did all of this. Something went wrong here, and I don't want to resolve this in this video, but that's our child flow. Our child flow did this. And I'll probably provide a video for this later on, but as you can see, the child flow works. So let's go to our flow and see what happens. So let's come here. And so first of all, here is our modifier. Let's come here. Let that come up. Okay, here's our flow that just ran. Let me click on this. All right, so here's our flow. This is the one we change. So we come here, as you can see, true. Just checking the status. And here's our flow. Run a child flow. So this is what I was talking about. Now it calls this child flow. Kind of like if you're a developer, it calls a function. So here's the child flow. These are the parameters that it's passing. 55 is the item ID, current, approver, status, email, all that stuff. This is the status that it returned. So this is what it returned when it was completed, done. And then you can grab this. If you needed this value, you can grab this value within the flow. And the way you would do that is, let me show you really quick. Let's say I needed to grab that. You do new step, and then I can say, let's say I wanted to use it in a condition or something. I can come here and I can say, so here's my run child flow status. So you can say, okay, if the status is equal to done, then do this or do whatever you need to do. And if not, do something else. So let me delete that. Let me go back out. And so let's go look at our child flow. Let's see what ran. That's our child flow. So this is what this is from our parent. This is what it called. And these are the values that we passed in. Status, current approval, item ID, rejection, none. See? Based on that ID, this is what we call. These are all the values that we grabbed. Here's our condition. Because it was true, this ran. And I think I know what happened with this one. We didn't put it within a link, and that's why it returned that way. I think what we should have done. Yeah, sorry for making this video long, but if you were to come here, oh, it is within a link. It looks like it isn't. Oh, it isn't a link. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened. So we have to look at that later. Yeah. What I would have to do is probably recreate the link in here, because I just copied and pasted it, so I should have just recreated the link. And as you can see, I can see that there's a problem because I have two hrefs here. But yeah, that's how that works. I hope that made sense. Let me know in the comments if it doesn't make sense, and I can probably explain in another video. I may create a blog out of this. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like I said, like this video before you leave. Leave your comments. I would really, really appreciate it. Helps the channel. Thanks. Bye.